Most people are living a lie, and I don't mean a small white lie. I mean a massive systemic deception that keeps 90% of the population trapped in a cycle of work, spend, repeat until the day they die. Have you ever wondered why your neighbor, who earns twice as much as you, seems just as stressed about money? Have you ever noticed how some people drive $80,000 trucks but have less than $1,000 in their savings account? Why is it that some people earn millions of dollars over their lifetime, yet end up with nothing to show for it but a pile of debt and a heart full of anxiety? The truth is, we have been lied to about what wealth actually looks like. We've been taught from a very young age that if you have a big house, a shiny car, and a designer wardrobe, you are rich. Our social media feeds are flooded with influencers posing in front of private jets they don't own and wearing watches they can't afford. This has created a psychological trap where we correlate spending with wealth. But in the world of real finance, the world where the ultra-wealthy actually play, those things aren't riches. In many cases, they are the very chains that prevent you from ever becoming wealthy. In this video, we are going to dive deep into the single most important concept in the history of money. It's a concept so simple, a child can understand it, yet so profound that it is the literal dividing line between the struggling middle class and the billionaire class. We are talking about the difference between assets and liabilities. If you get this wrong, you will spend your entire life working for money, chasing a horizon that always stays just out of reach, always wondering why your hard work never seems to result in financial peace. But if you get this right, you can stop working for money and start having money work for you. You can build a machine that pays for your life, your vacations, and your freedom while you sleep. By the time this video ends, you will never look at a dollar bill the same way again. You will stop seeing money as something to be spent and start seeing it as a soldier to be deployed in a war for your freedom. If you want to escape the rat race, if you want to retire 20 years early, or if you simply want the peace of mind that comes from knowing your bills are paid regardless of your job status, you need to master this. This isn't just a finance lesson. This is your blueprint for an entirely different life. If you pick up a standard accounting textbook or walk into a local bank, you'll find a definition of an asset that sounds something like this: a resource with economic value that an individual, corporation, or country owns or controls with the expectation that it will provide a future benefit. Did your eyes glaze over? Mine did. That's because the system loves to make money sound complicated. If it's complicated, you'll feel like you aren't smart enough to manage it, and you'll hire someone else, who likely has a lower net worth than you, to do it for you. But real wealth is remarkably simple. To understand it, you don't need a degree. You just need to understand the direction of the arrow. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. That is the fundamental law of wealth. It doesn't matter what your accountant says, what your banker says, or what the tax code says. If it costs you money every month to own it, it is a liability. If it pays you money every month to own it, it is an asset. Let's look at your life through this lens. Think about your car. You might think it's an asset because it's worth $30,000 on paper. But let's look at the actual cash flow. Does it put money in your pocket every month? No. It demands insurance payments. It demands fuel. It demands registration fees. And it demands maintenance. Every single mile you drive, it loses value through depreciation. It is a depreciating liability. Unless you are using that car specifically as a tool for a business that generates a net profit after all those costs, like a delivery vehicle or a rideshare, that car is a drain on your wealth. Now, think about a small rental property, a dividend-paying stock, or a digital product you created that sells while you're offline. Every month or every quarter, money arrives in your account. You didn't have to trade your physical hours for that money. The asset worked for you. After you pay the expenses associated with that asset, you have a surplus. That surplus goes into your pocket. That is a true asset. The mistake most people make, and this is the tragic mistake that keeps the middle class working poor, is that they buy liabilities and call them assets. They buy a bigger house because they believe the myth that a home is a great investment. They buy a boat because they feel they earned it after a promotion. They buy the latest tech on a payment plan because it only costs $50 a month. Every time you buy a liability, you are essentially hiring a thief to live in your house and take a little bit of your paycheck every month for the rest of your life. Every time you buy a real asset, you are hiring a worker who will bring you money every single month without you having to lift a finger. The wealthy focus on their asset column. The poor and middle class focus on their income, and then immediately use that income to buy liabilities that make them look successful to people they don't even like. This is the illusion of wealth. To the outside world, you look like you've made it. But on your balance sheet, you are bleeding to death. If you want to change your life, you have to stop caring about how you look and start caring about which way the money is flowing. Are the arrows pointing toward you or away from you? When you start seeing the world this way, you realize that most of the people you thought were rich are actually just high earners with massive expenses. They are one paycheck away from disaster. You, on the other hand, are going to build a foundation that is unshakable. You are going to stop collecting stuff and start collecting income streams. To really understand how this impacts your life, we have to look at the stories of two different people, Mark and Elena. Mark is a highly successful attorney. He spent years in law school, worked 100-hour weeks as an associate, and finally made partner. Now, Mark earns a staggering $350,000 a year. To his friends and family, Mark is the pinnacle of success. He lives in a 5,000 square foot home in a gated community with a $6,000 monthly mortgage. He drives a brand new European luxury sedan with a $1,500 monthly payment. He wears custom-tailored suits, belongs to a prestigious golf club that costs $1,000 a month in dues, and his children attend private schools that cost $50,000 a year. Mark is rich, right? But let's look under the hood. Mark's lifestyle is so incredibly expensive that he spends nearly $25,000 every single month just to keep his world from falling apart. After taxes and his massive maintenance costs for his liabilities, Mark has almost nothing left at the end of the month. Mark is what we call cash flow trapped. He is a high-income slave. If Mark gets burned out, if the legal industry shifts, or if he suffers a health crisis, his income drops to zero instantly. But his liabilities, they don't care about his health or his job. The mortgage, the car payment, the insurance, and the tuition stay exactly the same. Mark is not wealthy. He is just a person with a lot of expensive things that he doesn't actually own. The bank owns them, and they are renting them to him in exchange for his life's energy. Now, let's look at Elena. Elena is a project manager who makes $75,000 a year. She lives in a modest, well-kept apartment and drives a reliable 6-year-old car that she paid for in cash. Elena doesn't look rich. She doesn't have the designer bags, and she doesn't post photos from expensive beach clubs. But Elena understands the asset game. Every single month, like clockwork, Elena takes $1,500 of her paycheck and buys soldiers. She puts that money into a diversified portfolio of low-cost index funds and a small side business she started online. At first, it didn't look like much. In the first year, her assets only paid her about $50 a month in dividends. Most people would have quit and spent that $1,500 on a new phone. But Elena didn't spend those dividends. She used them to buy more assets. Fast forward 15 years. Mark has had 3 more raises and now earns $500,000, but he bought a vacation home and a private jet membership to keep up with his peers, so he's deeper in debt than ever. Elena still earns a relatively modest salary, but her asset column has exploded. Her investments now generate $4,000 a month in passive income. Who is truly wealthy? It's Elena. Elena's survival time, which is the real definition of wealth, is infinite. She could quit her job tomorrow and her lifestyle wouldn't change. She has the power to say no to a toxic boss. She has the power to spend her time however she chooses. Mark, despite making 5 times more money than Elena, is terrified. He has to say yes to every client and every late-night meeting because he is terrified of losing his income. This is the fundamental truth that schools don't teach. Wealth is not measured in the size of your paycheck. It is measured in the amount of time you can survive without one. Mark has a high income, but zero wealth. Elena has a modest income, but massive wealth. Most people spend their lives trying to be like Mark. They want the appearance of success today, even if it costs them their freedom tomorrow. If you want to be truly free, you have to be willing to look poor or average for a while, so that you can become truly wealthy later. You have to value your independence more than the opinion of people who are likely broke themselves. To build a real empire of assets, you must become an expert at identifying fake assets. These are the things that society and very clever marketing departments tell you are good investments, but in reality, they are just black holes for your cash. The first and most dangerous is the primary residence. This is the holy grail of the middle class. We are told that buying a home is the best thing you can ever do. But unless you are renting out rooms or using the equity to buy actual cash-flowing businesses, your home is a liability. It takes money for taxes, repairs, and interest. It locks you into one location and drains your capital. It only becomes an asset the day you sell it, and even then, inflation often eats up most of the gains. The second trap is the safe new car. We justify this by saying we need reliability or safety for our families. But a new car loses 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. If you finance that car, you are paying interest on a shrinking pile of metal. It is the fastest way to set your money on fire. The third trap is luxury upgrades. This is known as lifestyle creep. As soon as you get a raise, you decide you need a better gym membership, a better coffee machine, and better clothes. These are micro liabilities. Individually, they are small. Collectively, they ensure you remain a slave to your job. The fourth trap is education without ROI. We are taught that a degree is always an asset, but actually, a $200,000 loan for a degree in a field that pays $40,000 a year is a catastrophic liability. It is a debt anchor that will prevent you from taking the risks necessary to build wealth. Finally, the fifth trap is consumable status symbols. These are the watches, bags, and gadgets bought to fit in. These items have zero resale value compared to their cost and provide no cash flow. The wealthy buy these things too, but here is the secret. They buy them last. They wait until their assets are so large and so productive that the passive income from those assets pays for the luxury. If you buy a Rolex with your salary, you're losing. If you buy a Rolex with the dividends from your stock portfolio, the watch is effectively free. The asset stays in your pocket, and the watch is just a byproduct of your success. So, how do you start your journey today? You start by changing your financial order of operations. Most people follow the poor cycle. They earn, they spend on liabilities, and then they try to save what's left. Usually nothing is left. The wealthy follow the wealth cycle. They earn, they immediately buy assets, and then they live on what is left. They pay themselves first. Your goal is to treat your investment account like your most important bill. If you don't pay your electric bill, your lights go out. If you don't pay your asset column, your future goes out. Start small. You don't need $1 million to be an investor. You need $100. Buy your first share of an index fund. Start that small side hustle. Buy a piece of equipment that allows you to charge for a service. Once that first asset pays you your first dollar of passive income, something will change in your brain. You will realize that you don't need a boss to survive. You will realize that you are an owner. From that point on, your only job is to take every extra dollar you find and use it to buy more soldiers for your army. Before we go, remember that the most valuable asset you will ever own isn't a stock or a piece of real estate. It is your mind. The knowledge you've gained today, the ability to distinguish between a trap and a tool, is something no one can ever take from you. Wealth isn't a destination. It's a series of choices. Every time you have a dollar in your hand, you are at a crossroads. Choose your future over your present. Choose assets over liabilities. If you found this helpful, subscribe and join us on this journey. Your freedom is waiting.